I tend to go into games with a general idea of what it is, and often that preconceived notion is built by the author and their work. Blood and Bone is by someone who mostly works on 5e content and very, very little else. Blood and Bone is by Arcana Games, which is to say Eugene Fasano's Wild Ride. With a Kickstarter back in the Paleo-Mythic year of 2016, this is a game of the era. And by that I mean it's a deep, dark fantasy where everyone is angry, morally gray, and we still have the inkling of hope that Game of Thrones wouldn't shit the bed. But it's a D20 plus mod system at its absolute core, nothing too extreme, but bear with me here. Characters are built from beliefs, complications, attributes, skills, and traits. Beliefs and complications are a core part of the character's story that forms that story, granting you actually good boy points of tenacity, which allows you to trigger advantage on your or a friend's roll. But you could also trigger other things, such as abilities later on. Attributes are also pretty simple: strength, dexterity, mind, and presence, spreading only 5 attributes among them, but each of these grants something for the PC, namely in the sub-attributes. Vitality is actually your health, pretty low, coming into a resounding average of 3 to 6 if you're lucky, and keyed off of strength. Evasion is your base armor class, but rarely above 15 unless you pull some trickery. Finally, Alacrity is your base initiative that the characters get. Hell, PCs even start with a smattering of tenacity to get them started, and they'll probably fucking lose it. But skills! Oh boy, skills! Each of them are fairly simple: stealth, survival, performance, the usual assortment, but there's a secret, and it's that skills aren't numbers, they're actually dice. So having a 2 in fighting isn't +2, it's D6, which does change up the flow of how chaotic skill checks can be, but there isn't that many skills to begin with, leading to characters wanting to specialize and be extreme in certain skills. But the real star of the show is traits, which instead of levels is the main way to determine the power of a character. There are many traits, from simply being tough, being a duelist, or just being a jack of all trades. Most of these have 2 or 3 notes to them apiece, letting each one of them feel unique when designing a character. You're even allowed to take being a blood magician, as, well, there's no technical magic in the setting except being blooded, though these are not made equally in the slightest, which some may say yay until you see that attribute and skill increases versus losing your evasion modifier for nothing. Combat is pretty bloody, which is unsurprising as everything is measured in wounds. Our 3 to 6 health PCs are going to have to deal with attacks dealing chunks of damage. Any weapon that manages to hit your evasion will deal a wound, while if they roll within their major wound threshold, they'll actually deal 2 damage. Straight combat can easily lead to one side getting sliced apart fast, forcing the PCs to use desperate actions once a rest to turn the tide. Hell, even armor is kind of just about minimizing damage rather than negating it. And that's it, really. I should mention this here, but advancement is really fast, as in every session you're getting a new trait or skill to work with. Blood and Bone is actually a pretty interesting thing to read. Some unique ideas in it that reinforce certain concepts. It's dangerous, but not unforgiving, rewarding being creative, or just smacking the target to death. Setting is interesting enough to look into, if dated at this point. Most glaring flaw is, well, it's laid out by a fucking lunatic, and written very, very strangely. Things are kind of all over the place, and some bits are incredibly difficult to follow, especially traits as they aren't alphabetized at all. Hell, the game even has a section before you really get into character creation to say what the real way to make a character is, which is different from the way they say you should. But I enjoyed it. Its ideas are unique enough to get my noggin jogging, and maybe that's enough for you too. My name is Notepad, and this was Blood and Bone. If you like what I do here, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and many thanks to the Iron Lords of the Central Bank for funding this prolonged blood ritual. Godspeed, good luck, and never, ever cut a deal with the wizard.